guys, Ashley here, and today I'm going to be talking you through a wrap up, which is all of February and a bit of March, because at the beginning of March I was away in Barcelona, so I couldn't record a video, and I'm going to be away at the end of March as well. Woo. So first of all, I will talk you through all of the books that I read during February and up until now in March, and then I'll talk you through all of the books that I got sent. I'll start off with the first book that I read in February, which was Juvie. I talked briefly about this in my last video and I've now put up a review on my blog, but just to give you an overview, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It is a really realistic and gritty look into what life at Juvie is like. The second book that I read in February was It's the End of the World as We Know It by Saci Lloyd. For this book I actually did an interview with the author and she is really cool and really funny. The whole book is a really humorous read. It's not something that I think I would usually pick up. I surprisingly loved it. It's completely out there, completely wacky. I don't think it will appeal to everyone, so definitely check out the interview that I did that I'll link to below. The third book that I read in February was The Storm by Bergin, and if you have seen any of my videos or read my blog before, you'll probably know how much I love the rain, and so I was so excited to read this book, the second book in the series. The thing about these books that is so good is it's just so funny, but also absolutely horrible at the same time. I don't know how Bergin does it, but it is genius. I actually didn't know whether this was going to be the last book in the series or not, so when I got to the end and realised it was so open-ended, I was like, oh. I found myself being quite satisfied with the ending, even though it was so open-ended. I quite like that we can use our imaginations to imagine what Ruby goes on to do and the other characters that I fell in love with. So if you haven't already read The Rain, I would so strongly recommend it. So definitely give it a go and read my review, which I'll also link to below. The next book that I read was The Sin Eater's Daughter by Melinda Salisbury. I don't actually have it right now because I've lent it to my friend Zara, but I absolutely adored this book. I got sucked right into its sort of intricate storyline in this kind of world with magic and powers, but they're quite subtle. At the beginning of March I read The Sky is Everywhere, which I have actually been leaving around on trains and things. I've given to some schools, I've given to some of my friends, I've put on the bookshelf at work because I got loads of copies sent to me to try and spread the word about Jandy Nelson and her new book that's coming out in April called I'll Give You the Sun, which I'm going to read and review very shortly. I love this book. It's a contemporary novel, but it's absolutely heartbreaking. The romance is fantastic. I believed every second of it, even the things that I just didn't want to believe, the bits that were really horrible. I just thought that is exactly the kind of thing that I imagine someone that's going through such a tough time, you know, to act like and to be like. And also the other thing about this book that I absolutely adored was the poems. There are like poems scattered throughout the whole book. It's so cool. Like this one, it looks like it's on a coffee cup. I cannot wait to read I'll Give You the Sun now that I've read this. And also keep an eye out because I've got a few copies left of this book. When I write my review, I'm thinking about doing a giveaway, so I might give away a couple of copies. So if you want to read it and you haven't read it yet, check out my blog in the coming weeks and you might find yourself winning a copy. Yay! The next book I haven't quite finished yet, and I'm hoping to finish before I go away on holiday, but it is called Mind Games by Teri, and I love Teri's Slated trilogy, although I haven't actually got round to finishing that yet. I'm still waiting to read the last book, but I've decided that as this comes out in March, in fact I think it's out already now, it came out on the 5th of March, I thought I would read it. I am on page 270, so this is how far I've got through, and so far I am loving this book. It is exactly my kind of thing. Dystopian, it's really futuristic, and in fact it's really weird because the other day I was at work and people were talking about how they think that we're going to have implants in our brains in the near future, and this is exactly what this book is about. There's implants, there's this virtual world that people plug into. It's exactly how I imagine the future to be, and it is really good so far. There was a bit in the middle where I got a bit confused. It seems like it's getting quite complicated, but I'm starting to get the hang of it now and I think I'm going to understand it. The cat is in her poop house, having a little poop, so you can all hear. Lovely. Actually, a lot of elements in it remind me of Divergent, so if you're a fan of Divergent or The Hunger Games, you're going to really like this book. I definitely recommend picking it up, although obviously I haven't got to the end yet, so I don't know whether it ends well. But I will be finishing this off within the coming days, and I will get a review up as soon as I can. So now for the books that I've been sent for review within the past month and a bit, and I only got sent 5, so I feel like that's actually not all of them, but I can't think of any more that I got sent. So if you sent me a book and I've forgotten to include it, I am really sorry, and let me know please. The first book that I was sent was Gypsy Girl by Kathryn James, and this is one of the books that I heard about first at the Walker Books event that I went to, was it last year? Or was it in January? I went to at some point within the past few months. This book is about a girl called Sammy Jo who is living in a traveller community, and she falls in love with what sounds like the wrong people, and there's also a bad guy involved, and it's a bit of a thriller, and it's going to give me a bit of an insight into what it's like to live as a gypsy. So I am quite excited to read this book. I think it's going to be something a bit different, and I feel like it's going to be a really interesting read. So this is the 40th anniversary edition of Forever by Judy Blume, which I still haven't read, so I am so grateful to My Kind of Book for sending this in from Macmillan. I'm sure you probably all know what Forever is about and have probably all read it already, so I am quite behind and I am planning on catching up very, very soon. The next book that I got sent this month is the third book in the 100. I always say the 100, but apparently it's just the 100, and that's probably just me being quite British. But I haven't actually managed to get a copy of the first book in this series. I've already got the second book. I need to get the first book so that I can read these 3. But I have been watching the TV series, and if you haven't already started watching it, it is so good. I absolutely love it. And I'm sure that if you're into YA and sci-fi and fantasy and dystopian stuff, you will like the 100. So try watching the TV series and also try reading the books, and I am planning on getting the first book in this series very soon, and I'll be reading and reviewing all 3. The fourth book was The Duff. I am so excited to read this book. I was really, really grateful to Books with Bite for sending this over to me, because I've watched the trailer for this movie a few times and it looks hilarious. I have read Kody Keplinger's Shut Out and I absolutely loved it, and I've wanted to read The Duff for ages, so I've now got my own copy and I'm going to read it before the movie comes out, and then I'm going to watch the movie. And the final book that I got sent, which I'm also really excited about, and by the way, I know I'm really behind, I still haven't read Trouble, but Non Pratt's second book, Remix, is coming out on the 4th of June, and I have my very own advanced reader copy. I think I'm going to read this within the next month, as well as Trouble, because I feel like they're going to be really brilliant and quite quick reads for me. I think I'm going to get addicted to them and not be able to put them down. Also in February, I forgot to add, I went to see an event which was all about the new book by Mallory Blackman, which is called Love Hurts, but actually it is a collection of short stories all about love, and it's got loads of brilliant authors in it, including obviously Mallory Blackman, Kathryn Johnson, James Dawson and the amazing Patrick Ness. So I have written up lots of the transcript from the event. You can read my write-up over on my blog. I will link to that below. That is my February and part of March wrap-up. I will speak to you again very, very soon. Bye!